In the year 324 AD, a shadow was falling across the Roman world. The old empire, vast and unwieldy, was tearing itself apart. The city of Rome had grown corrupt, its arteries choked with intrigue and decay. A new man, a new kind of emperor, saw the writing on the wall. His name was Constantine, a ruthless general, a political visionary, a man touched by a new powerful faith. He knew the empire needed more than just a new leader. It needed a new beginning. It needed a new center of gravity. His eyes turned east, to a place where Europe and Asia meet across a sliver of shimmering water, an ancient Greek town called Byzantium, a place of destiny waiting to be claimed. They say an eagle, a divine messenger, guided Constantine's hand. The eagle flew from the old town's walls and dropped a mason's line far beyond. That line marked the boundaries of a city far grander than anyone could have imagined. This was to be no mere provincial capital. This was Nova Roma, a new Rome. For 6 long years, legions of workers toiled, transforming a sleepy fishing port into the most magnificent city on earth. They built vast forums, aqueducts that marched across the landscape like giants, a colossal hippodrome for thundering chariot races. This city was a statement, a declaration that the Roman spirit was not dead. It was being reborn. Constantine poured the immense wealth of the empire into his creation. He stripped pagan temples from Greece and from Egypt, taking their finest statues, their marble columns, their gold and their silver. He brought all of it here to adorn his Christian capital, a strange and potent mix of old and new. The serpent column from Delphi, once oracle-bound, now stood in the hippodrome. Great porphyry pillars, the stone of emperors, supported new basilicas dedicated to Christ. This wasn't just construction, it was cultural and religious alchemy, forging a new identity for an empire on the brink. On May 11th, 330 AD, the city was consecrated, a spectacle of unparalleled pomp and ceremony, a blend of Roman tradition and Christian liturgy. Constantine, in imperial purple, led a procession through streets of cheering crowds. By the 5th century, the storm that had been gathering for generations finally broke over the Western Roman Empire. By the 5th century, the storm that had been gathering for generations finally broke over the Western Roman Empire. Barbarian hordes, the Goths, the Vandals, the Huns, they were driven by hunger, by ambition, and by the sheer momentum of peoples on the move. Rome, the eternal city, was sacked not once but twice. Its emperors became puppets, its armies scattered, its provinces lost. In 476 AD, the last Western emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was quietly deposed. The light of a 1,000-year-old empire had been extinguished in the west. It was an age of chaos, of ruin, of darkness descending. But in the east, the light did not go out. While Rome burned, Constantinople stood firm. Why? What made this Eastern Roman Empire so resilient? The answer lies in its geography, its wealth, and its formidable defenses. Constantinople itself was a fortress, protected on 3 sides by the sea and on the 4th by the legendary Theodosian walls, a triple line of fortifications so immense they were considered impregnable for 1,000 years. Attackers would have to cross a wide moat, then breach an outer wall, then a taller inner wall studded with nearly 100 towers. This city was built to survive. Beyond the walls, the Eastern Empire controlled the wealthiest provinces of the old Roman world. Egypt was its breadbasket, its granaries feeding the capital's teeming population. Anatolia, a rich source of soldiers and resources. Modern, what we call Turkey today. The trade routes from the Silk Road and the spice lanes of the Orient all flowed through Constantinople's Golden Horn Harbour, filling the imperial coffers with gold. This immense wealth meant the emperors in Constantinople could afford to do what their Western counterparts could not: pay for massive professional armies and navies, and when necessary, pay off their enemies with staggering tributes of gold. This was an empire that learned to be pragmatic. It was a master of diplomacy, playing one barbarian tribe against another with a cunning that was both admired and feared. Its spies were everywhere. Its bureaucracy, a direct inheritance from old Rome, was complex but efficient, capable of collecting taxes and administering vast territories. While the West fragmented into a patchwork of warring feudal kingdoms, the East maintained a centralized, sophisticated state. It did not just survive, it preserved the learning of the ancient world, the laws of Rome, and the flame of civilization, holding it in trust for the future. The Roman Empire was not truly dead, it had simply moved house. In the 6th century, a man of restless energy and boundless ambition ascended the throne in Constantinople. His name was Justinian. He was not born to the purple, he was a peasant's nephew from the Balkans, but he possessed an intellect and a will that would shake the world. Justinian was a man who never slept, they said. He prowled the halls of the great palace at night, his mind churning with grand designs. He saw himself not merely as the emperor of the East, but as the rightful ruler of the entire Roman world. His life's mission, his obsession, was the renovatio imperii, the restoration of the empire. This was no idle dream. Justinian unleashed his brilliant general Belisarius upon the lost western provinces. It was a breathtaking gamble. Belisarius, with a surprisingly small but elite army, first struck the Vandal kingdom in North Africa, shattering it in a single lightning campaign. The crowds in Constantinople went wild. Then he turned his sights on the heartland, Italy. The Gothic War that followed was a brutal, draining 20-year slog. Cities were besieged and starved. Armies clashed amidst the ruins of ancient Rome, and the Italian peninsula was bled white. But Justinian would not be denied. By the end, the imperial flag once again flew over Rome, Ravenna, Carthage. But Justinian's ambition was not just military. He wanted to bring order to the chaos of the law. For centuries, Roman law had grown into a bewildering forest of contradictory edicts, rulings, opinions. Justinian commissioned a group of the finest legal minds to systematize it all. The result was the Corpus Juris Civilis, the body of civil law. This monumental work rationalized and preserved 1,000 years of Roman legal thought. It became the foundation of law for his empire, and centuries later, it would form the basis for the legal systems of most of modern Europe. It was an achievement perhaps even more enduring than his conquests. Yet, Justinian's reign was stalked by disaster. His grand projects and endless wars cost a fortune, bleeding the treasury dry and leading to crushing taxes. Then, in 541 AD, a horror of unimaginable scale arrived from the east. It came on fleas, on rats, on merchant ships. It was the bubonic plague. The plague of Justinian was one of the deadliest pandemics in human history, killing perhaps a third of the empire's population. Justinian himself caught it, and, against all odds, survived, but he was a changed man. His dream of a restored Roman lake had turned into a nightmare, but his indomitable will ensured the empire, though wounded, would endure. Beside the emperor who dreamed in marble stood a woman forged in fire. She was his equal in intellect, his superior in courage, his partner in power. Her name was Theodora, and her story was a scandal. She was not of noble birth, far from it. Her father was a bear-keeper for the circus. She became an actress. She became a courtesan, a role then synonymous with prostitution. She was beautiful, she was intelligent, and she possessed a razor-sharp wit. But in the rigid, class-bound society of Byzantium, she was from the gutter. Justinian, then heir to the throne, fell utterly in love with her. He changed the law itself so he could make this scandalous woman his wife and empress. Many in the court were horrified. They whispered about her past, about supposed depravity, but they underestimated her. Theodora was more than just a beautiful face. She was a political genius. She had a deep understanding of human nature. She had a backbone of steel. She had fierce loyalty to her husband and their rule. She was not a silent, decorative consort. She was a co-ruler. Her name appeared alongside Justinian's on imperial decrees. She held her own court. She managed her own network of spies and agents. She pursued her own political and social agenda. She championed the rights of the poor. Especially, she fought for women. Her defining moment came during the Nika riots of 532 AD. A protest in the Hippodrome over chariot races exploded into a full-blown insurrection against heavy taxes and autocratic rule. The city was in flames. The mob burned buildings, including the original Hagia Sophia. They proclaimed a new emperor. Justinian's generals and advisors panicked. They urged the emperor to flee, to gather his treasure, to escape by sea. The boats were waiting. Justinian wavered, his nerve broken. The dream of empire was about to end in a blaze of mob violence.
She would not run. The royal purple is the noblest shroud. To die an emperor is better than to live as a fugitive.
Her courage shamed the men into action. Justinian ordered his generals to act, Belisarius, Mundus. They cornered the rebels in the Hippodrome. They unleashed a terrible slaughter. 30,000 people were killed. The rebellion was crushed. Justinian's throne was secure, and everyone knew it was not the emperor but the empress, the actress from the gutter, who had saved the empire. In the smoking ruins of the Nika riots, a new vision was born. The old cathedral, the Church of Holy Wisdom, or Hagia Sophia, lay in ashes. Justinian, his throne secured by blood and Theodora's will, saw an opportunity. He would not just rebuild the church, he would build the greatest church the world had ever seen. A monument so vast, so glorious, so breathtakingly audacious, it would stand as a testament to his power and his faith for all time. It would be a physical manifestation of God's glory on earth and the centerpiece of his reborn Christian Roman Empire. This was to be his masterpiece. He summoned two brilliant Greek minds, not traditional architects, but professors of geometry and physics, Anthemius of Tralles, Isidore of Miletus. He gave them a challenge that seemed impossible: to place a colossal circular dome, larger than any ever built, upon a square base, creating a vast, uninterrupted interior space that would flood with light. The Romans had mastered the dome, as seen in the Pantheon, but they had never attempted anything on this scale or with this geometric complexity. It was a project that pushed the very limits of engineering. A leap of faith rendered in stone and mortar. For 5 years, 10,000 workers toiled day and night. The finest materials were brought from every corner of the empire. Green marble from Thessaly, yellow stone from Syria, black stone from the Bosphorus, porphyry columns salvaged from the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, one of the 7 wonders. The scale of the construction was staggering, but the true miracle was the dome. As it rose, it seemed to defy gravity. Massive piers, hidden arches, semi-domes, all channeled the immense weight downwards, creating an effect of ethereal lightness.
At its consecration, Justinian is said to have run into the church, arms outstretched, and cried, "Solomon, I have surpassed you." He was right. Hagia Sophia would remain the largest cathedral in the world for nearly 1,000 years.
While Justinian reconquered the west, a far older and more dangerous enemy stirred on the eastern frontier. This was the Sasanian Persian Empire, the other superpower of the ancient world. For centuries, Rome and Persia had been locked in a titanic struggle, a seemingly eternal war for dominance over the Middle East. This was not a war against barbarian tribes. This was a clash of civilizations, two highly organized, wealthy, and proud empires who saw each other as their only true rival. Deserts of Mesopotamia, mountains of Armenia were their bloody chessboard, where fortunes were won and lost for generations. Under the ambitious King of Kings, Khosrow I, the Persians launched devastating invasions into Byzantine territory. In 540 AD, while Justinian's best troops were bogged down in Italy, Khosrow swept through Syria and sacked the great city of Antioch, one of the jewels of the empire. He massacred or deported its population, a brutal blow to Byzantine prestige and morale. Exhausted by war, the Byzantine Empire was unprepared for the Arab conquests. Though Constantinople survived, thanks to its walls and secret Greek fire, a greater betrayal loomed. In 1204, Christian crusaders sacked the city, a mortal wound from which the empire never recovered. By 1453, surrounded by the Ottoman Empire, the last emperor faced Sultan Mehmed II. After a final desperate siege, the city fell, ending a 1,000-year legacy.